Okay, welcome, Liam. So, Liam, when we think about North Korea, we usually focus on the DMZ. Like for myself, also, and people in America, we don't really know much about in Korea other than just the DMZ. But they have a long hidden story in the Middle East. Like to start off, like how did North Korea's involvement in the region begin? And how does it differ from South Korea's approach? Because in Korean media, they don't talk about it at all. They just say, Iran's bad, yes, Israel attacked the Middle East. They only think about big things like this. I want to know, how does it differ from South Korea's approach?
Before we begin, we need to analyze the Middle East by two categories.
Mm,
The Middle Eastern states are separated into two. One is organized by families, the clans, if you would like, and the other is organized by ideological groups. South Korea, I think it's most mediated by America, is very connected to countries like the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Oman, Qatar. And what is common to all of them? They are united by, let's say, monarchy or a family's dynasty. Like
mm,
that's how the Middle East works. North Korea, on the other hand, worked the other way. It worked with mainly anti-Western ideological groups. We have seen them allied with Gaddafi in Libya, with Nasser in Egypt throughout the 50s and the 60s, with Saddam Hussein in Iraq, and we have seen them very, very close to the regime of Hafez Assad and his son Bashar. But we also need to think about it differently. Countries usually dictate their foreign policy by the interests of the moment. Let's say in the time of my parents, Israel was mainly focused on Europe and America. Today it is focused in America, but also in the Far East. But sorry, North Korea doesn't think this way. It thinks by its own interests, but it is honeyed by nice words. Let's say the Article 17 of its constitution says that North Korea should build friendships with states or organizations that promote solidarity, peace, and in particular, those who struggle against imperialism. Now, you see, this is a deep Marxist article. It also explains a lot why North Korea supported terrorist movements across the Middle East and why it felt so connected to such regimes, especially the Palestinian movements in the 1960s and 70s.
mm. I see, I see. I see. And anything to add more onto that? No?
I don't think so. We'll get more to the details, I think,
Hmm.
later.
Well, that's fascinating because I thought it's just all about money. But like a constitutional, like anti-imperialist mission, this leads to like kind of a specific stance on Israel. I was thinking like for a while, like how does Pyongyang view Israel, and to what extent have they actually supported groups targeting your country? Because I only you would know because there's no information about it anywhere, so I don't know. So I was wondering, from your view, since you're in Israel right now and you're with all the attacks now, so what extent have they actually supported groups targeting your country? Like which kind of people?
First of all, we need to understand how the North Korean regime views Israel.
Yeah, yeah.
The regime in Pyongyang, especially the media, views Israel in a very similar way as South Korea itself.
Mm,
I would say in the North Korean worldview, we are
mm,
often depicted as states created by America for their own interests. In their propaganda, they usually present us as allied with America to serve only Washington's interests.
mm,
In their mind, also, Israel described as a country that was created with Western support and displaced the local population. But also, it's very false because the West didn't support us. But it's a long story.
Mm,
Therefore, in North Korean, in the eyes of the North Korean regime, Israel and its people are legitimate targets for violence and terrorism.
yeah, yeah.
But so, as we talked about earlier, throughout the years, North Korea provided training, weapons, and financial assistance to terrorist organizations. Terrorists from those groups often trained in camps which had close ties to Pyongyang itself, and advisors were sent, and of course, with the military support and the organization of the organization of the groups.
Mm,
Because of that, I've seen many photos of pro-North Korean ideological groups within the Palestinian terrorist groups.
mm,
They admired the North Korean model of so-called resistance against what they call Western influence, and even had elements of its propaganda within their courses.
mm. Oh, I see. So they're all connected Palestinian people. So that's why I see, and whenever I'm seeing around in Seoul or anywhere, the pro-Palestine movement, they all go together with the left party, with the extremists. So I guess that's why it's all connected with ties. And the Israel is always connected to the Korea and USA, rally. So I guess it's all connected in that sense. But I see why. But like you mentioned that this is a new phenomenon, but I'm thinking, however, like the dynamics seem to have shifted significantly after the 1979 Islamic Revolution in Iran, from what I searched. So, how did Iran become the main bridge for North Korean influence in the Middle East today? Like, I know like they're connected with like maybe some things like military wise, but what's your like extra information on that?
It's much more than that, but we need to discuss. But we need to see Iran's foreign policy before and after the revolution.
Mm,
During the Pahlavi regime, Iran or Imperial Iran was strongly allied with the West. It had
mm.
wonderful relations with the United States, England, Israel, South Korea, and much of the West.
Oh yeah, I hear Dong
But
Temple.
everything, but everything that but everything changed in the Islamic Revolution in 1979
Yeah, yeah. I heard
as
about.
it shifted towards a new foreign policy, which became much more anti-American, definitely anti-Israel, and much more allied with the Chinese and the North Korean, mainly because of anti-Western interests.
Yeah, yeah. Heard about
But,
that all.
but also, I think that supporting Iran and its allies allowed the North Korea to reach the Middle East much easier and advance their own interests. But
Hmm.
also, one important thing which I guess we will touch later, it also helps the North Korea to avoid international sanctions, especially when we talk about the Russians, the Chinese, or the North, or with the Iranians.
Mm.
And I think it became very common in the 1990s when the North Koreans lost, let's say, the Soviet protection and faced worse sanctions.
Mm.
According to Israeli and American intelligence, Iran became the main bridge between North Korea and the Middle East in recent years.
Yes, I heard
Through
that.
Iran,
Mm.
through Iran, North Korean weapons and technology reach different groups and regime across the region.
Mm.
But also, maybe the audience needs to understand that the Middle East isn't just Israel versus the Arab world. It doesn't belong there anymore.
Mm.
It has ongoing conflicts between states, militias, and political movements fighting each other, and even tribal groups which belong to one strong family.
Oh wow, even tribal
But
group.
because of that, the demand for weapons is always high. Many of the buyers, especially in recent years, are connected to pro-Iranian networks and groups. But if we talk about that, we talk about also Bashar al-Assad in Syria. We've seen it in the civil war. The Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Hamas in Gaza, the Houthis in Yemen, and various pro-Iranian Shia militias in Iraq.
Mm. Okay, okay. I see, I see. So interesting. Like I never, like as a, always maybe me myself before being in Canada and here, I never just thought about, Middle East that close. I never thought the connection between, Middle East, Israel, and all around the area to North Korea. I had no idea, but thank you for telling me that. So my another question too is, I want to talk about, so it's a massive network, right? So I'm thinking like from a tactical perspective, what is North Korea actually gaining from these militaries, like militaries? It is purely financial, or is there like a bigger game involved? And like I've heard rumors about more unconventional cooperation, like the
Mm.
reactor in Syria back in 2007. What can you tell us about that? There's not much info on that. So all these things
Let
I'm new of, I hope you can tell me. Yes.
Okay, the first goal for Pyongyang with those relations is
Mm,
money.
money on.
Think about it that way. Imagine yourself as a leader of a Shia militia somewhere in the Middle East. You need
Yeah.
to control oil, you need to control territory, you need to control checkpoints, oil facilities, factories. If you have, like, let's say, a hundred fighters,
Mm,
you need rifles, ammunitions, I don't know, and other military gear. On the black market, the average Kalashnikov costs about $1,600, and that doesn't include the bullets.
it costs a lot, yeah.
Through through the Iranian network, you can um, you can gain access to those supplies, but also get technology from North Korea. Pyongyang and the DPRK offers them by a lower price than the black market, but it's not just the rifles.
Mm,
It sends landmines, RPGs. We've seen it in the Hamas attack on October 7th, 2023. It also sent rockets and such. And all of those groups have in common they are allied with Iran. But that's especially in recent years, but we will talk about it later.
wow.
This,
Uh, RPGs and all those things. Wow, that's amazing. It's not good. I'm just saying it's crazy to see how it's all linked. That's all. Yes, and continue.
exactly.
Mm,
But the second goal, I think, is to have a foothold in the Middle East and hurt America and Israel
mm.
in the very sensitive points.
Oh,
Let's say if you build friendships with Iran and other groups which are allied with it, North Korea gains influence in the region that is important for the United States and consequently to us. Those connections are allow them to project, let's say, anti-Western and anti-Israeli influence, and stay involved in one of the most complicated regions in the world. In the past, I don't think they do it now. I don't think they do it now. I didn't analyze it fully, but it also try to create um, ideological connections with militias, not just in the Middle East, but also in Africa. We've seen some regimes which are extremely pro-North Koreans, but we also have seen it in many Palestinian communist movements which existed back then. Now they barely exist.
mm,
And I've seen a photo. Maybe I'll publish about it in my Instagram.
I see
With there are
lots.
photographs. There are photographs which shows the members of these groups displaying a portrait of Kim Il Sung, the first leader of North Korea. There
Did
are
they?
such photos.
That's crazy. They even know who he is. Maybe they're just doing it just to show they're appreciative about the money. I don't know. Mm.
Everything is possible in the Middle East, believe me.
Yeah, because I'm sure
And
they're
I think
thinking, who's this like Asian guy? I'm sure they don't care that much about Kim Jong, Kim Sung, Kim Il Sung. That's why.
I think if you look back in the communist movement, I think they knew exactly.
Uh,
Look, it's off, but George Habash, one of the greatest leaders of the Palestinian communist movement, was hosted in Pyongyang like a hero.
oh, really? I didn't know.
He was praised there. Even Yasser Arafat.
Oh,
About the Hamas currently, I have no clue, but I think they have something to do with it.
okay.
And I think the third reason, which is very important for North Korea,
Mm,
it also costs us with with the issue with the money, like they gain fortune from it, but it also competes with the markets of Russia and China, especially in the influence, I wouldn't say influence, of the trading of unconventional warfare.
mm,
In Israel, we call such an approach dancing on two weddings because Pyongyang tries to maintain relations with almost every anti-Western regime it encounters up until 2003. The good example is from the 1980s during the Iran-Iraq War. North Korea sold long-range ballistic missiles to Iran, but in the same time, it also hosted Iraqi delegations to sell weapons to the Iraqi army. Wait a
mm.
minute.
I see. I
And
see.
wait a minute, I'll have an alarm soon.
I know, right?
After the fall of Saddam Hussein in 2003, Iran and its allies the most important clients for North Korea's military industry,
Mm,
even in the unconventional warfare. The
mm,
good example that you mentioned earlier, Israel in 2008, in 2007, sorry,
mm,
Israel destroyed a nuclear reactor in Syria, a
mm.
reactor which closely resembled the one in Yongbyon.
Ah, yeah, right.
I think that's the name. Don't get me wrong here.
They're full of all the nukes there. That's what it is, according to United
Okay.
States information. Central intelligence. That's all. Yeah, yeah.
Mm. And according to several reports, North Korean scientists were killed because of the bombing.
Mm,
And later, during the Syrian civil war,
mm,
Israeli reports that both North Korea and Assad had connections in the chemical weapons production.
mm,
Evidence collected by Israel and shared but with the United States repeatedly indicated that some of Syria's chemical materials were connected to North Korea. And but in this year, in last year, in 2025, the Israeli media reported that the new regime, led by the terrorist Ahmed al-Shara,
mm,
was seeking to renew its connections with
mm.
North Korea.
Gina.
Israel directly threatened Damascus that if such a cooperation would occur, the Israeli retaliation would be immediate, and it would be immediate.
Mm,
And I wouldn't say big because I don't have a clue, but that's a direct threat to Damascus.
so just they would start a big fight, to conclude. Yeah. And cool, cool. Thanks for telling me. I had no idea with in Pyongyang and all these things. I just heard little bits because they barely talk about it in Korea, so I had no idea. Or nor in Canada, they barely ever talk about it. But thank you for those tips. And coming from that, I was thinking like, I thought and thought about it. Like it's clear like that the Middle East is North Korea's like greatest income source. Like that's what they get all their money, right? So, given this reality, like in your opinion, what kind of, strategic like choices does South Korea face? Like, should they be more active in the Middle East to hit Pyongyang's soft belly? What about like what can Koreans do, Korean government or Korean army or whatever? What do you think could be a, good strategy to be?
South Korea, first of all, should look after what's best for its interests,
Mm,
but it should also define its interests regarding North Korea. If the interest is to hit North Korea's soft belly, and
mm,
as a result, maybe to talk with Israel about a proper alliance,
Mm,
to increase their presence and therefore harm one of Pyongyang's greatest incomes,
mm,
then that's one interest. If the politicians don't want to get involved in Middle Eastern politics or wars,
yeah.
and go to an adventure that obviously both the Europeans and the Chinese wouldn't like,
Mm,
but the main interest is to hit Pyongyang directly. That's second interest. But I will let you know. Maybe the audience know what will best for him. So I invite them to write their opinions in the comments.
okay, I see. All right, thank you for letting me know. I was researching after you told me about things, and I was, watching your videos, and I wondered, with all the details because you can only see so much your Instagram. Just so, it's not you can't have enough information. So, I think it's good that we discuss like this, once whenever we can. Um, but we'll have to see how globally all goes around because recently, it's not as easy as it seems. Every country is linked to some other countries for many reasons, some for many, many reasons. So we just have to take a look and see, all the this different perspective and why and reasons, for being involved for each wars and different things. So I think it's good that we connect and
Wait,
discuss. Mm,
I'm sorry, but we have to get this over because
yeah,
there is
yeah,
an alarm.
yeah,
There is
yeah.
a siren. So
No worries.
I'll say
There's a
so.
word over
See
there.
you
Yeah.
again real soon.
Okay, be safe.
I'm sorry to tell. Be safe too.
Safe.
Goodbye.
Bye, buddy.